Hello everybody, this is Harper, and today we're doing Grand Blue. This is from maybe 2 weeks ago. I haven't had as much time to play Grand Blue, partially because I've been focusing on Melty, partially because I really am trying to get a fair bit of writing done. This is from some lobby night matches and some other sets I did with some folks who were teaching me matchups. That's particularly near the end. I won't waste your time too much. I took really extensive notes on these matches, but matches move so fast that trying to read from notes and keep up with matches is a little tricky. So the notes are mostly just there as guidelines to help me figure everything out. I hope you enjoy. I like this game a lot still. It's one where I really want to improve, but I think that it's also been good to take a break, to try other things, to focus on writing, spend a little bit more time with family and all that stuff too. So I will get started in a moment. Here we go. This is a Zeta match versus Prada. I think that opening 6-6H is risky, and now we're just kind of get to Poketown for a little bit. This projectile approach is okay. The 2U is risky. I think when I get knocked down, or mostly knocked down, this wake up H Rekka is cool, but using H Rekka is kind of tricky because it leaves me without a lot of tools. I think looking at some of what's happening here, I think first off, I should have auto-comboed there instead of poking. Some of my confirms in general as Lancelot are a little weaker, and I need to figure out ways to be optimal. And I also need to find ways to really manage some of my resource. Right there, I could have won, right? That's what I'm talking about when I say that confirms should have been a little bit better. If I had confirmed off of that Impulse Blade, then I would have won that round. And instead, I dropped the combo, and it leads to the super confirm, and it costs me the entire the fight, really. And it doesn't matter how well you do. It doesn't matter if they have a pixel left. What matters is that you win or lose, right? Ultimately, you're trying to win in these games. I mean, yes, you're trying to also make small improvements, but you also want to win. That's an interesting thing. So Rhapsody is that move where she does that that pose, and it has a certain degree of invulnerability depending on which version she uses, and she can also jump out of it. She used a knee attack, and it gave me room to use 2H to attack as well. And so I think you're going to see me use this super as a lot as a turnaround reversal type deal. Leaves them with a pixel, which is pretty good, and then I just kind of dash in and use a poke, which I think is okay. I think the 6H was a good way to bridge that gap, but I think maybe I could have just had more aggressive pressure to begin with. That dash in is fine, but I could have attacked off of the frames of the fireball instead of trying to go for a grab. And so, now I'm just really eager to fight. I use H Rekka again, even though I'm kind of pushing them towards the corner. So it's not perfect, right? I think that this fireball is kind of good, but I could have again used it for more pressure. This H Rekka in the corner limits me a little bit afterwards. And now I think I'm mostly trying to fish for confirms for that reversal. I can also just attack with Rekka, which is pretty fine. I'm using like wall jumps and a couple other things here to work out different options for maybe confusing their movement. They commit to move there, so I think using the H version of Turbulence is fine. Turbulence is the closest thing I have to like a reversal or like a DP, which isn't tricky. I think the round start here, now we're just going straight into another round. The 2U on round start is a generally poor round start, and I need to kind of get rid of it out of my repertoire. I think we do a jump heavy here. Yeah, jump heavy into 2M, into Rekka is reliable, but I think I can get called out there. The dash up grab is risky, but it can work. We're doing some traditional Oki options here. I need to figure out if there's some better options that could work. In general, I think a lesson I can teach myself is that it's okay to just use 1 or 2 strings of the Rekka if it ensures that I can reset pressure a little bit more. I get very lucky here. They end up whiffing their own super art because of the distance, and it gives me time to 2L into an SBA, which I think is fine, right? The option is to get a kill. It doesn't really matter if I'm getting a big confirm. All that matters is that I'm getting a confirm. that's Rhapsody, right? The stance there. H Rhapsody, the heavy version, is pretty much complete invulnerability. L is invulnerability to air attacks and highs, and then M is invulnerability to lows. I think this is decent corner pressure. I think the grab dash is a good idea. And now we're just trying to find the right poke to win. And thankfully, Super Reversal on landing ends up being a pretty good choice in order to win out this round. So I feel pretty good there. Prada's a pretty dang good player, though. I've lost against them plenty. H-Blade at start here, pretty risky. I think, yeah, we toss out a Turbulence, which is risky too. I'm doing things that are punishable. This corner escape is mostly okay, even though I need to be careful about tossing out my two H's. That's more like a missed input issue than anything else. We're trying to do some pressure here. They do a nice spot dodge there, which I think is really cool. I need to worry about confirming off a blade more, but in general, some of what's going on here is cool. That that dash cross to deal with Rhapsody is a decent idea as well. We're doing a lot more of just like general movement stuff. You're gonna see that full Rekka, it's like very risky, very punishable, but you can get away with it sometimes. And then also sometimes people don't block that third hit, so you might as well sometimes go for it. Zeta's pressure can be scary, but also that laser beam, I didn't know if it would work, but supering through the laser beam ends up working. This failure right there off of the 2L to confirm into the Rekka is huge. I could have ended the match right there. Instead, Turbulence fake into jump L is a decent option, but I would rather just have had the sure thing than anything else. Right? You know, it's a bit of a bummer. Right? Like that right there, just like turning anything into confirms. These dash ups, which people have very consistently told me are not good ideas, but have just mostly worked. I need to respect Zeta's corner escape options a little bit more, including Rhapsody and including the things she can do off Rhapsody, including that knee and even that blade move she can do. These low L's into super confirms are fine. This is, you see me, if you can hear me in the background, I say this is still losable, which is very true. If I had done smarter movement there in the corner, I probably could have killed sooner. Instead, I kind of have to jab out these 2Ls. Yuel, a matchup I don't know very well. These are very standard opening pokes after they spot dodge the fireball. The first big exchange is the confirm off of the impulse blade, and I need to be sort of careful about what my follow-ups are there. This is just normal back and forth, right? But I think I make a mistake here, right? I think I do this, not that Turbulence. I think there's another Turbulence I do pretty soon, which is not a great answer. Turbulence is an answer to their 214L, but like, you know, I think there are places where Yuel leaves herself open, including that hop move after she goes into stance. I think Blade Impulse was a good answer to 214L, and then the Fireball to do the dash up, which is what I call the Kai Kisk, works out well. The misplaced Turbulence here puts me in the corner. Jump U maybe could have corrected that and maybe given me a cross up. It's something to test. I don't really know. That Turbulence escape out of the corner is lucky, and the grab is lucky too. I could have gotten teched. I'm overcommitting with these Rekkas, and also like Yuel's just like one thing that's gonna happen on a lot of things we see in these matches today is I'm going up against some characters that I don't play very often. That was very risky. You can tell I wasn't confident after the cross up to do a full combo, but thankfully the reversal super happens, which is good because I actually see their close medium. So that was actually what I would consider a reaction. So we get the kill here. There's a lot of other things going on there, which is messed up. The second jump H there confirms. I think jump H is maybe one of the best buttons that Lancelot has, but maybe I'm wrong. The 2H is messy. I don't know why I'm doing that after. I should correct that executional error in general. These back and forths are pretty tame. The Rekka to escape is okay. But you're going to see, because I use H Rekka, it's a bit of a mistake. If I had Rekka here, I could have maybe used it on that fireball to confirm into more things. Instead, the result is some poor damage, and I lose pressure, and it gets me carried into the corner. The full Rekka that I'm about to do here is really risky, but it does pay off. I don't know why I did it, besides just like freaky, angry animal instinct. So we go here. It's decent back and forth. We're doing like normal footsies. They grab me with maybe the world's lowest air grab here, which totally surprises me. I don't know how to deal with it. After this match, we're going to pause so I can take a break to check on a message from work, because I'm doing this early in the morning and I think work is about to start. This is a decent start here, I think. I think this Rekka is okay, and the pressure ends up being mostly good. The two H's are weird, but this is a lot of okay pokes, and the jump H is doing some stuff. That turbulence is really weird. We're going to end up doing another to side. I think we were mostly trying to do one to side switch.
She's very linear, which I should be able to use to my advantage.
So we do mostly okay here. Feels all right. But then we're gonna go into another thing here, which is, these are standard approaches, but I mess up the 2U. Maybe I was reading from the wrong notes there. Maybe it's possible. The thing I do there, that the Rekkas, they're okay, but when they're being blocked in the air there, I should do more. Any mid attack, I think, probably leads to damage there. I might be wrong. I reset here to maybe set up fireball pressure again, but it's really silly. I should just keep on going. Super reversal here is lucky. This is not a reaction or read. This is just me being an educated guess here, thinking that they're going to toss out like maybe a 2L or something, which I think they do toss out a 2L. The turbulence there is to side switch. And the fireball is like my godsend. And so now we just mash out with a Rekka, and that's how we end there. But also I will be back for round 2. All right, so we are in match 2, and I need to catch up to where we were. This turbulence was to dodge a couple things, and the confirm into Rekka is okay. I wonder if I could have done something else. Like right here, this Rekka, this is another case of that, where I do kind of the same thing. I guess when I say I wonder if I could do something else, I'm getting ahead of myself on the script, which is, I wonder if I could have impulse bladed there into a full actual corner combo. Although I find Lancelot's bread and butter corner combo really difficult. I think the impulse blade there is an okay thing, but now I'm like, my pressure is like sort of falling apart, and so I'm just kind of like spacing things out with fireballs, and I feel like I should have, like, once that fireball had come out, I should have like confirmed it into SSBA or something. Here I'm trying to, you see me use my anti-air, I try and predict a jump that doesn't come. Instead I jump in, I go in for a grab, go in for another grab, which ends up failing. There's a lot of stuff here. I need to figure out how to do some clash cancel things. Normal confirms here are fine, but I think that the impulse blade is a bit zealous. I buffer the 2L well, but that's about it. But because of how things go, I'm not quite in a place where I feel entirely comfortable. That's just me needing to respect the DP. I think I'm trying to do like a 5H meaty or something there, and it gets me DP'd. I mash out, I go low, and then the overhead attacks to get the round, which is pretty nice. Yuel, again, a character I thought I was maybe going to play. So I do have some knowledge of her moves, even though, you know, you only really retain knowledge after playing a character for so long. I'm pushing them back to create space. That jump H catches their 214L, but the back and forth is kind of weird. I think I could have played this one a little slower, but I am being more defensive. That turbulence is definitely a mistake, though. Just like trying to figure out the ways to really approach some of what they're doing is good. Right there with this is a good confirm, I think, but I think also when they were in stance, I probably could have just poked with 6H and done some stuff there. Again, they're getting hit a lot with Fireball in the air. I feel like I can do more with that. The single Rekka there feels kind of weird. But the corner stuff here is okay. The 2H calls out their dash, and then the Impulse Blade ends it, which is cool. This is Shiro on Narmaya. I think Shiro's a fun player to play against. What do we have here? What do I do to start off? Oh, Fireball. Bad opener against Setsuna. It's just they have a faster ranged option. The wall jump into Blade is okay for spacing. I'm being pretty cautious here. These are pretty like cautious openings. I think we're both being pretty defensive. That dash is just like whiffed on my part. Corner pressure is okay, but again, I use H Rekka, which means I lose the chance to continue using Rekka. Like if I had done that overhead into 2L or something like that, I just wouldn't have Rekka as a tool. So I keep on using that, partially because I think I'm just eager to end the fight. 2U, pretty good. All things considered, but you have to call it out and read it. Going into a combo there would have led me into good stuff. Turbulence is a bad choice. I need to consider some better options there.
Narmaya can be scary though. Surprisingly.
But I think the read on the super is good. I think I'm getting better at that in general. Here's an example of me being an idiot. I do the same opening thing even though I know it will fail. Once I know something will fail in the opening, I shouldn't be using it again. I should be finding alternatives, which is something I'm not great at yet because I think a lot of my Lancelot play is really habitual. The spacing on the dash is like not great there. So Shiro's just setting a tempo here that I can't quite beat. Narmaya's corner pressure can be scary. I don't think of Narmaya necessarily as a pressure character, or certainly not even as a rushdown character the way that Lancelot is, but which is fine. What do we got here? Some good pokes. The jump in is good. We confirm that into Rekka. That's totally fine. The dash here is okay. Their spot dodge there is pretty good. But I'm getting poked out a little bit. In general, the turbulence going into low 2L into Rekka is pretty good. That full Rekka is really risky, but like I said, you can get away with it sometimes, or I think I said, sometimes you can just toss out. You can just, speaking of tossing out, sometimes you can toss out the full Rekka and get what you need. But speaking of tossing out, I don't know what that raw super was at all. Just absolutely, I like 100% nonsense.
Is that SSBA?
So my messed up pressure there just gives them time to set up for SSBA. I think this is good pressure, all things considered, and the pokes are okay. The high-low is okay. So I'm just kind of waiting for them to do something until I can poke them with like 6H or something like that. This is .mp4. I think they beat me up a little bit more than the other Yuel. That's again, respect the DP. They catch me with the jump into. I feel like they know this matchup kind of well. This is a good matchup for me to understand Yuel's potential pressure strings, but not a good match for me to try and understand the proper answers. Like that air combo right there, I'm like, okay, this is somebody who's actually like labbed stuff out, or at least played Yuel for a pretty non-insignificant amount of time, which is to say, the rank next to their name with the C doesn't mean as much as the time they've spent in lab or the time they've spent really optimizing certain things with Yuel. Fireball into the space 2U is okay. The defense there frees me up for Rekka. I even think this throw is okay. That empty jump there is interesting. I think maybe it could have invited like an anti-air reply, but I think for resetting pressure, it's not the worst thing I've ever done. And jump ins again, leading into combos are cool. I don't have Rekka because of the way that I have been so eagerly in these matches using H Rekka. I should vary my jump in options just a little bit so it's not always JH. And I think another thing to learn here is that I shouldn't be afraid to let them come to me a little bit, even though I am a rushdown character. But they go into stance, which means I feel like there's a pretty good opportunity to attack. But I'm also overextending here quite a bit. So I feel like I get pretty lucky with the U there. Although it looked like maybe they were in stance, so that's a fair enough punish, right? If they were in stance, my brain is already mush. It ends up being what I would consider the correct decision to answer stance, is to go low and just sweep them out. Being pretty aggressive here. That Rekka to escape is okay, and the spacing on the turbulence is pretty good too. Or not on the turbulence, on the impulse blade, and then the turbulence is okay too. I thought maybe I could catch them there with a more aggressive use of Rekka. Punish on the dash with turbulence is okay. I feel like there are other options at the same time though. Could be interesting to try and like bait the dash attempt or something and counter with like SSBA or something else. I think the way that you would do that is that you would create the spacing and try and encourage that movement. Instead, I'm playing a relatively normal game when I know there are positions where Yuel is relatively vulnerable, where I could maybe set them up for a nice response. That me at the end is actually having trouble executing the SSBA. That's an executional error that I need to fix. Fireball start is okay here, catches their dive kick. I spoil whatever goodwill that earns me with Impulse Blade. But we are getting them towards the corner a little, right, which is what we want, especially off this blade and into the combo. Although I spend a lot on Rekka there, which loses me some options, and then trying to call out on the high-low and going to you leaves me punished instead. The timing on SB is good, though. I'm expecting a hop or some other motion, so it's not like a full read, but it is something where I know the nature of Yuel's movement a little, so I'm able to call it out. I need to watch a couple things. The dash and other things are good, but the 2U before was bad. The Turbulence and Rekka series is good. The grab here is good. I think in general it's a solid sequence. I'm trying to vary my pressure, including making sure that I'm not using full Rekka entirely. So varying up that pressure there, I think, is the thing that actually allows me to close out this round here. That blade is too big of a move on an enemy like this. She has way too many ways to answer it. I do think the way that I'm using Rekka in this match is pretty okay. So, you know, pretty reliable. I use full Rekka there just because, you know, I've been varying up my pressure enough, and you see I toss out like raw H Rekka there. So it's not the worst stuff. So I do think the way that that's being used is pretty decent, varying it up. But my turbulence stuff there is a little weird. I think that this super is okay. I think if she had time to spot dodge, she certainly probably had time to block it. So the spot dodge gets me a punish, but also, or them a punish rather, gets me punished. But I don't think that was necessarily the worst use of a super. I saw a movement and thought I could call it out. Turns out they were just a little bit faster. Doesn't necessarily bother me. What does bother me is the fact that I'm losing out on some very easy pressure there. Like, I think I could have confirmed that 2H into Rekka would have helped me out a lot. So, you know, that is just how it goes. But we are, like, this is like, man, all I need to do is chip her out or hit her once. So I'm really trying to play a neutral game. This pisses me off. You can probably hear me yelling in the background. That's a spacing thing. I had no clue that thing could hit me from there. Otherwise, I would have blocked it, and if I blocked it, I could have punished it. That's a matchup knowledge thing. That's me going that's me like thinking my spacing is correct and just being entirely wrong. And because of that, I lose pretty much all my momentum for this entire match. I feel like I could have won that. In fact, I definitely could have won that. But I make a judgment call informed by a general lack of information, which leads to a round where I really can't reestablish momentum. And spoiler alert, I'm trying to do some movement stuff and maybe try and bait out a couple things that I can SSBA into, but instead I just lose that match. That match feels kind of bad. That's a matchup knowledge thing. That just means I need to play more Yuels. This is Carrie though. I love playing Carrie. Carrie is a character who's like super fun to fight. This is a pretty good opening. The 2U to take care of the Rhapsody into the other stuff is good. The whiffed throw is bad, but it's like whatever. I think dropping the combo on Blade there is bad again. But in general, these are good back and forths. I have very mixed thoughts on the Zeta Lance matchup. I think Lance has a lot of cool options here. I think Zeta maybe, and this is not me trying to downplay Lance. I think Lance is a good character, or else I wouldn't be playing Lance. This is a good super call out too, I think. Waiting for them to attempt to poke and then replying. But I think Zeta has in general a more versatile toolkit. I think a lot of Lancelot's utility comes from his more interesting options come from like his movement skills or things like that. So like things like being able to turbulence down into those 2Ls, or even like I could have fast falled off that, or had gone into the wall and jumped off and then fast falled down into other things. So, but I think Zeta just has like so much more air control, ways to counter people who are attacking her, all sorts of stuff. I think it's just, she probably has the better toolkit. I think Carrie is also a better player than me in general, and has been improving at this game at a faster rate than me because my attention has been split between so many things. So this round here is just like completely dominant for them. Which I have no problem with, right? Like, if you're fighting against a person who you think is cool, a person who maybe you even vaguely consider a friend in the community or whatever, like, these have always been good back and forths. I think they probably, if we're keeping track of wins and losses, they've beaten me more, but I never feel like I'm in a horrible losing situation. That use of Rhapsody there is pretty good. I think they use the L Rhapsody, which means they have invulnerability against the air attack, and then they go into the knee, which is pretty nice. I'm trying to vary a lot of my options here because she does have really good corner escape tools. So we're trying to find moments where I can really apply certain types of pressure. Again, simple thing you see here, 2L with meter. Confirm, hit it. Pretty good. It's not bad. She calls out my turbulence. They're pretty good with that overhead movement. And my corner escape here is bad because I don't commit to the full Rekka. Full Rekka would have killed. But I'm taking it a little slower here, and my jump over gives me time to not immediately get called out by the parry. I'm not using an air attack. I think that was still L Rhapsody, so instead I'm able to take them out on the ground, which is good. Her dash beats my fireball at startup, another thing to remember. And then also, like, their pressure here is just, like, really good, and my corner escapes are bad. I think this is just, like, I can't confirm off of that. I'm losing my pressure options. I think Carrie does an amazing job here, right? Part of learning how to improve in a game is just, like, looking at other players and acknowledging, like, when they just, like, really dominate and do really well. And I think I'm doing okay, but it's not entirely great. I think doing this Rekka to carry into the corner is okay, but it does leave me again without options. The Chiyu is fine. I need to find some better, like, wake up Okazemi tools than just, meaty overhead or fireball or things like that. I need to test it out. Probably talk to some folks. 2Ls into Rekka, but she's jabbing me out here, which is pretty nice. She's finding the gaps in my pressure strings or just waiting for them, right? Whereas I am trying to maybe see if there are moments where she will jab and I can catch. But I think she's probably in the more advantageous position overall. I do see movement here, which leads me into the SSBA, because I do see a low poke coming. What happens here? How do I finish this off? Turbulence into 2L into Rekka. Normal stuff. That's pretty good. I think that's a pretty good round ender. So I feel okay about that. And now we get into another issue again of why use a fireball at the start if I know that she has a tool that beats it. like, don't even bother playing the rock, paper, scissors. Try and find the option that you know will work in the matchup. That's advantageous to you pretty much all time, because I don't, I'm varying some options here. I'm trying a certain amount of things. I think that Impulse Blade to call out her own dash is pretty cool. I think this is not an unwinnable round, but I think Carrie does something amazing here, which is something that Carrie does, or has done in a couple matches with me, which is that she's able to spot dodge and then grab the Lance Rekka, not the Rekka, the SSBA. So she's really good at that. Partially because the way that the traditional version of that travels, there's a little bit of travel time, and skilled players can take advantage of it. So, I think after that, you can see here, I'm playing really timid. I think I'm maybe even being too deferential, which isn't to say I don't respect Carrie. I do. They're arguably my favorite person to fight on entirely when we do any of our lobby nights or things like that. But I'm holding back here, and I'm not really trying to press any advantage or even create an advantage. So instead, Carrie is just like super dominant, which is really good. This sequence into the corner is okay. The Rekka pressure is good there, even though it feels a little bit wasteful. High-low mix, okay. I'm waiting for her to maybe poke so I can call out some stuff, but she spot dodges, right? That's something that Carrie is just very good at. But we confirm with some normal Rekka tools, which are nice. The 2U there, not great, but we are going to clash, and then I'm going to just try and do some traditional pokes here. Maybe could have killed with a Rekka there, but I do some nice air movement here, which I feel really good about. I jump over, dash back down, and then I use that to get my confirms, which feels really fucking nice. I think this is a decent opener, and I partially because the blade is good, and also because I spaced the overhead well. The Rekka is okay, if a little bit aggressive. Dash throw is fine too. Pretty decent sequence. The empty jump doesn't prevent her corner escape, but it does give me a window to tag with a 2H when she does the knee out, which is cool. It's just something you can do against Zeta when they do that. Normal super confirm here. The stuff that you kind of start to expect. I'm waiting for the reversal. I'm waiting for anything I can call out here, or maybe that I can chip out. Instead, she starts to do air movement, and this isn't on reaction, but I do see movement that's carrying into the air. So that's how we deal with that. This is frozen on a screen. I'm just going to leave this blank screen here for a minute. It stopped very good. I like this matches a lot. Carrie's super fun to play against. We'll be back with some more stuff in a minute. We have one more thing, which is against Mina, who's a Matera player. And Matera is a matchup that I don't know. I did like a set, a series of like 20 games against them. I pretty much lost every one of these because I just don't know the matchup very well. Matera has a lot of ways to shut down my approach. Knowing that, I'm trying a variety of like air movement things here to lead to like attack options and ways that I might be able to punish them. Two things to note here. This is a good player, and it's a matchup that I just don't know, which is like a deadly combination. I'm very grateful that they took time to be like, do you want to just... I think this was right before a tournament, too. They could have been practicing against like much more intense players, and instead they said, hey, do you want to sit down and we can start to learn the Matera matchup a little bit? And I said, yeah, sure. So that was very flattering. Here we go. So, like, this is just an example of how dominant it can be when you don't know a matchup. We get our 2L drop off of the Turbulence into Rekka for a corner carry, but I don't really know a lot of my options here on how to pressure Matera in the corner, and I think she has a lot of, like, really quick options for dealing with, like, my air approaches. So, once she gets the side switch, it's pretty much game over for me. She just has a variety of things that she can do. So she gets me there. I just wanted to show an example of how painful that could be. But now we go into adaptation time, where it's just like we try and figure out how to adapt. Jump in is fine. Fireball coming out in a minute to cover some of my approach. We get a high-low. And she's trying to create distance here, which gives me a chance to dash in with Blade, which is better spaced. The jump-ins are good. I'm hitting them on a counter because they're trying to do some anti-air stuff, but I'm hitting them before the anti-air comes out. Then I'm waiting for a whiff so that I can do my super. It's a decent game plan. I need to explore pressure options against Metera beyond that, but that's not the worst round that I could deal with. Now I'm going to start to try to adjust attack angles even more. I think we toss out a Turbulence here as a punish on something. Might be wrong. I don't know. Yeah, there it is. There's the punish. It's pretty good, all things considered. But after that, it's like I start to get trapped and zoned and called out. I think I spot dodged right there. And then I'm trying to find some good pressure options. Again, the jump-ins are working. Into Rekka is good. Fireball into Turbulence, into the high-low, into Rekka again. Decent pressure, but I'm spending a lot of resource, and like one good hit gets me here. So what could have worked there is if I had a better knowledge of my corner combo. One thing I'm finding is just like there are just matchups now here where it's like I really need to learn my corner combo. I'm surprised that doesn't chip me out. I try an SSBA here, but the distance is too far. I think maybe if I was closer to them and did like the air SSBA, I could have got them, but maybe if I was jumping too close to them, they could have anti-aired me anyway. This is just going to be a pretty dominant round for them. Like all this air combo stuff, all the hops and things, that's fucked up. It takes up so much of my my health. When she's hopping, you can anti-air, but it's like, man, it's scary. As it stands, again, matchup I don't really know that well. Trying to explore different options. I know under correct circumstances with a slightly clearer head, I could definitely win, but it just isn't working out. This is match 2. I think this is the last match we're going over today. Dash in is cool, but the Turbulence is a really big mistake. It's an easy punish for them. They hop into this high-low mix-up thing. I think I go in for a throw attempt at some point here near the end. But this is also a matchup knowledge thing again, which is I don't know all of Metera's skills because the amount of Meteras that I play, it's pretty low. Mina might be one of the only ones. So I jump in, and it turns out, wow, her super skybound, not her super skybound art, her skybound art is like this weird flaming DP. Who would have thought? She's just a scary character in general. Decent round opener. Trying to do a lot of movement stuff. Just trying to keep up some corner pressure. What I don't want them to do is escape into a lot of different spaces to create the distance and the traps that they need to really oppress. That 2H, I'm tired of rogue 2Hs, but the immediate confirm into super is like, I'm actually kind of proud of that in the sense that like, it wasn't the move that I had planned, but it worked out well. That spot dodge into the punish, too, is also something I'm pretty proud of, right? These are not matches, spoiler alert, that I'm going to win, but these are matches that I can be proud of. I think we have 2 solid rounds where we've seen some options that could work against Metera, which is nice. This one is an absolute heartbreaker. So 2U under some projectiles is pretty cool. I think, we're starting to push back into the corner. I think in general, the corner pressure here is okay. Again, that's a case of like, maybe could have staggered and done some other stuff. H Rekka, again, a little greedy. But the health gap here isn't bad, and she's jabbing out a lot, so I just do a reversal super skybound art. It doesn't kill, though. What's going to happen next fucking sucks. They're going to wake up super and kill me as I try and toss out a fireball. Mina says that this was on reaction. I don't know if I agree with that. I think that was somebody waking up and doing a super and just killing the other person. If they're reacting to the fireball, then they're fucking quick as hell. I think they saw a fireball and just were like, we're going to kill you. But there we go. Fun matchups. I need to learn. I need to learn Metera.